Now I gotta... Ah! Hold on. I gotta make sure the feeds are up. Oh, man, this might be an issue. Well, we'll find out. If you're joining us, bear with me 1 second. Make sure we are live on here. All right, that's going. All right. And one more. This is what happened when you hit the stop button instead of the go live button. There we go. All right, we're good to go. All right. Welcome to Sports Bias. Let me switch screens here. Welcome to Sports Bias with Cleveland J. I am Cleveland J, and you're not. The old Chevy Chase line for all the older folks out there. So Sports Bias is a show that just talk sports. I miss ranting and raving with random people in the bar and things like that about the greatest players and teams of all time and sharing memories. It's not quite been the same talking about the Mets' greatest second baseman of all time with my 10-year-old. It is a random guy in a bar. So during the last couple of years, during these weird times, I've missed it. I've missed talking sports. So that's kind of what this is all about. It's also been a way for me to kind of reconnect with some friends and meet some new ones. It's been a rough year for me physically, so it's been a real therapeutic for me to kind of go through this and have some fun and kind of get me back on my feet moving forward. So I hope you guys like it. We have a whole bunch of great shows planned. Tonight we're going to feature the Ohio State Buckeyes. Surprise, surprise, if you know me. Next week we're going to be doing the Detroit Tigers. I'm going to be joined by a couple friends in northern Michigan joining me for that. And then we got the Cleveland Indians coming up the week after that, January 30th. And then the week after that, February 6th, I'm really excited about our sports movie, the greatest sports movies of all time. So I am going to bring on our guest, Dan frickin' Shaker. Dan, say hello.
Well, hello, everybody. Yeah, the crowd goes wild.
The crowd goes wild. The crowd goes wild.
All four of them. It's great.
You look good on camera.
Oh, thank you.
So Dan and I met last year during all the lockdowns. We were in a conference together, and I noticed that he was wearing an Ohio State sweatshirt. So I reached out to him on chat while some stuff was going on. I was supposed to be paying attention, but I saw the Ohio State stuff. So I sent a message to Dan, and we kind of hit it off and connected after the event and kind of became friends. I'm hoping it's a lifelong friendship. He's a really nice guy, and he's a lifelong Buckeye fan, so I'm interested to hear what he has to say. Although prepping for the show and doing the tech check, he scared me. He scared me with some of the things he had to say. I know Felix, our other guest, is listening in the green room. Felix, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. All right. And if you are listening, I'm not sure if anybody's online, but if you are listening, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Feel free to chat if you're on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. So if you're with us live, go ahead and comment, and I'll get those, and I'll hopefully give you a shout out. But Felix, you did hear me. Dan mentioned TP in our tech check. That's all. Yeah, I know. Dan, I don't know if you.
That's what I thought we were just going to talk about.
No, it's not, Dan. It's not. It's going to be a very long show if this goes where I think it's going to go, because I'll be really disappointed. And that whole thing about lifelong friendship might go down the tubes really quick.
He was dynamic.
He was dynamic. He was also a punk. All right. So Dan, tell Dan, tell everybody where you're from, who you are, and how you became a Buckeye fan, and maybe your earliest Buckeye memory.
Sure. So I'm from a place called Youngstown, Ohio.
The
Born and
Penguins.
raised here. Yep. Love it here. It's one of these old Rust Belt towns through Ohio. It's kind of an old school blue collar area. You need a tetanus shot to get into the area, but it's home and I love it. And so just growing up in Ohio, I mean, we call it the Ohio State University for a reason, right? There's Youngstown State, there's Bowling Green, there's some school in Cincinnati that got into the playoff somehow this year, but that's fine. They had a great year.
Yeah.
But if you're born and raised in Ohio, there's one university you really look to, and that's Ohio State. So that's just kind of born and bred into me, is to be an Ohio State fan, and so that's just been a lifelong.
And what about
fan.
your earliest Buckeye memory?
Yeah, I think one of the earliest Buckeye memories was when Joe Germain leading the team to a victory in the Rose Bowl against Arizona State. That was a big deal. I think
Jake
that
the
was
Snake.
Yeah, so that was one of the earliest memories for me, because I got to sit around with my dad and my uncles watching the game. Usually we'd be outside running around and everything, but I just remember it was a big deal, and it was a big deal to my family. So everyone was gathered around the TV, and I just remember watching that and everyone being all excited and yelling 4-letter words like OHIO. Nothing too bad. It's a family show, right? So it's all good. But that's probably my earliest memory.
That triggers me. First of all, I'm much older than you. Don't be so quick with that. There's two things I remember about that game. I remember David Boston kind of walking into the end zone when we scored. And I remember, because Jermaine came in and won that game for us. And I remember Stanley Jackson, who was our starting quarterback most of the year, sitting on the bench with his hands on his head while we scored and was looking and just didn't care. I was so upset that he was more worried about himself in that moment than Ohio State playing in the Rose Bowl, which especially at that time was a really big deal because we hadn't been there in a while. I remember that game really well. I just remember being completely disappointed in Stanley Jackson. My earliest memory, and we're going to bring Felix in later to share some memories, but I think my earliest Buckeye memories were Christmas. My older brother is much older than I am, and he was already at Ohio State when I was like 8. And my whole room was Ohio State. I had the Ohio State sheets. I had the Ohio State footy pajamas, the lamp, all that stuff. And I just remember getting a whole bunch of Ohio State stuff at Christmas, as it always was, and it still is. But I think those are my earliest memories of being a Buckeye, is those Christmases and getting all that Buckeye paraphernalia and stuff. So yeah. All right, cool. Well, welcome to the show, Dan. One thing I wanted to mention too is each episode we're going to have different guest hosts. I'd mentioned some of my friends from Michigan joining me next week. Dan and my friend Felix are here tonight. But if you want to co-host a show with me, shoot me an email at clevelandj at sportsbiaslive.com. And we'll do a show. I just talking to a friend of mine earlier, Scott, who wants to do a Reds episode. So I'm all about doing a show on the Big Red Machine. And so you have some other ones. So if you're interested, you're a big fan of a certain team or a certain city, or you're passionate about sports, shoot me an email and we can work out putting a show together. We have some really cool things planned. So, all right. So we are going to get into our first major segment. I'm going to look at my notes here because this is the font. This is what I'm dealing with. I don't know if you can see. That font is, with my old eyes, is like ridiculously small. So you're going to see me look up at my screen quite a bit. All right. So, all right, let's get over to the next segment. We're going to go through our all-time Buckeye lineup. And I have to say I'm a little scared for two reasons. One, Dan scared me in the prep. And B, Felix might kill us when he comes on. So we're going to see.
Yeah, you're going to hate some of my picks. I already know this.
I am going to... I swear, Dan, TP's on that list. I am going to preface this as this was a lot harder. Let me go to the next segment. Let's do this. Oh, actually, I forgot that screen. Oh, I see Brutus up there better on this screen. Mm-hmm. Hi, Brutus. Let me see the sweatshirt.
Oh yeah, this is for those who don't know, this is Buckeye leaf.
Yeah.
It's not the devil's lettuce.
It is not. It is not. Funny quick side, and the show is never going to take an hour because you know me talking, Felix. I forget. I'll save that story. It doesn't matter. All right. We are going to go through the all-time Buckeye lineup according to Buckeye fan Dan and Cleveland Jay. I am going to preface this for a couple things. One, this was a lot harder than I anticipated. I've changed my lineup and the other things we're doing in the show up until showtime. For the last month, I've kind of played around with it. I keep on changing it. So it was much harder than I thought. Dan seems to think it went pretty easily. How was your prep for the show?
Well, I don't want to say it was easy. I mean, we had to go through a lot of Buckeyes, right? There's a lot of great players who came through the program.
Yeah.
I mean, big impact not only on the university, but you know, in football in general, and college football, and then going on to the pros. So, I think one of the things that you told me when we were prepping for the show was it's up to interpretation.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I had my own thought process on each position here. And it just came to a different conclusion for each one. But man, I was talking to one of my buddies about this as I was prepping. He hates my list. I can just tell you right now, he hates it. And he was getting on me about it.
I think Felix is going to too.
Oh yeah, we'll see how this goes. Look, I'm gonna have a good time whether anybody else does or not. I had a blast putting this together, and this is fun for me.
Yeah, I did too. I think the thing that stands out for me prepping this was how many Buckeyes I'd forgotten, and we're gonna hopefully we'll talk about a little bit about that with Felix later. Just going through the list of all the Buckeyes and reminiscing about all the great players and players I love that necessarily weren't great. I used to love Carlos Snow. He's not on my list, but he was a great Buckeye. He was a great running back for us. Just all kinds of people that I had forgotten. And we'll go through them later. But this list is not the definitive list. We're not saying that this is the all-time list because sometimes we're going to go with who is legitimately we feel the best person at the position. Sometimes it's just we're going to go, we love the players so much that we had to put them on the list. So keep that in mind, Felix, when we get you on, when you start giving us flack for some of our choices. All right, tech-wise. I have mine typed in here on Dan's. I'm going to kind of do it on the fly. So it's going to be live doing it. So we'll see how this goes and see how it works. So what position you want to start with, Dan?
Well, let's just go from the top down.
No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. No. Okay. I'll take it back. I'm not going to give you control. Let's go with the easiest according to me. Okay.
Fair enough.
So with the easiest that I said, because you gave me a look when I brought this up last time in our first call. If you have anybody else here, I'm going to be worried about you. All right. So let's go offensive line. All right. I, of course, have as soon as I find them. Orlando Pace, the pancake man. I don't like the look on your face, Dan. Okay, so
I mean, who's not going to say Orlando Pace there, other than me? But Orlando Pace is a legend.
Gosh,
I
mean, did you really not say Orlando Pace here? Felix is looking at me like, all right.
Yeah, it's nothing against Orlando Pace, but you said it was up to my interpretation and why I would vote for somebody.
Okay,
right?
Yep. Go ahead, Dan.
So Youngstown, Ohio. More specifically, if we really want to nerd out and get into like the exact geographic location where I'm located is Warren, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And so I had to go with Corey Stringer. He graduated from the same high school as me. And he led our high school team to a state championship, went on to Ohio State and did a phenomenal job. And then obviously went over to the NFL and did what he did there. And life cut too short. So just from my perspective and the community in which I live, it was the most impactful, the best offensive lineman in Ohio State history is Corey Stringer.
Rest in peace. Felix is putting up a note that I can't see. He's quitting. I think he just walked off the show.
That's just one of the picks that he's going to hate. I get it.
I will say this: if there's anybody else, it was Corey Stringer. But I'm sorry, I'm going to get this right here. I will say of all the Buckeyes, and I don't know if you can debate this or not. Felix and I talked about this a little bit earlier. Of all the Buckeyes, at any position, Orlando Pace is the best Buckeye at any position that we've ever had. So for me, it's hard to not go with Orlando Pace. I understand the connection with Corey Stringer. I respect that. I loved Corey Stringer. I loved watching him play. It's so sad that he left us. God, when was that? What year was that? Do you remember when he passed away? Felix knows. He's writing it down.
I don't remember what year it was, but I remember it was a shock. I mean, this whole community just kind of shut down for a couple.
And I believe he was with the Vikings, right? He was with the Vikings.
Yeah, he was on the Vikings.
Yeah, Corey Stringer's a great choice. You're wrong. In fact, I will give you one of those.
Like there's one offensive lineman, right?
So I know. We had, it's only an hour show, 3. He's giving me hand signals that I can't see. I have stuff. It doesn't matter. I'll get you. You can tell me when you come on live, Felix. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, let's go
for the record, I don't know who Felix is. I've never met her, but I'm very interested to see how he just rips.
Be afraid. Be very afraid. All right, let's go to kickers. Let's go to kickers. Sure. I have Nuge.
Yeah, I mean, why would you go with anybody else? That's exactly who I have.
That's who you have?
The Clutch City.
Yep. Let me fix this here. This is 24 thing. That way, this way I'll get a little better. All right. So Nuge. All right, we're in agreement there. Anybody else? Did you even consider anybody else?
No, Nugent was. It seems like every time we needed a kick, he made it.
Yeah, it seems that way. I did not research kickers that much. My mom used to be like the permanent babysitter for Lou Groza, but Lou was only at Ohio State for a short time. Lou the Toe Groza, Hall of Famer. All right, kickers, that's good. All right, let's go to this one. Scared me when you told me this, and I actually told Felix you slipped this. Kick return. Teddy Ginn.
You see, I didn't put him for my kick returner.
You put okay. Oh, time out. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna let you finish.
Well, we have kick returner and punt
returner. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So
so for me growing up, who I always thought it was fun to say his name, and he was a stud. He was fast. Was Kenyon Rambo.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I went through this list, so as an example, I didn't research websites or all-time Buckeye list. I went by, who I could remember and what impact they made for me. And Kenyon Rambo, man, he was a game changer as well. So
yeah, I liked Rambo.
That's what I'm going with.
I think he didn't live up to his hype. Felix, give me a thumbs up if you agree with me. No, all right. Thumbs down. All right, he gave me a thumbs down. He gave me one of these. He gave me one of these.
As long as it's the thumb.
Give me a thumbs down.
A different finger.
Kenyon Rambo is actually one of the players I'd forgotten about when I was putting the show together. I'd forgotten about him. All right. Okay. I'll let you go first on punt 10. So you put Teddy Ginn for punt returner then?
Yeah, punt returner. He was dangerous. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was just, especially playing trestle ball. It was all about field position. And he could just change the dynamic of a game in an instant through a punt, right? And whenever he touched the ball, it was always exciting, whether it was a receiver or a punt returner or a kick returner. He was always dangerous, especially in the national championship game when he ran back that kickoff.
I will say this from the national championship, that moment, the kickoff of that game, obviously the rest of it went drastically downhill. That moment, Felix was there. Forgot the other guy, the guy we were with. That was the guy who was the radiologist. Like, he's not here with me. So, the when he took that kickback might have been the highest I've ever been as a sports fan. We waited all that time, the 66 days off, and we opened the game with a kick return to the house. I was on cloud 9. I remember I couldn't breathe real well because I was just like hyperventilating, and then the rest of it I forgot about the rest of it. But
I was there. I was in.
Oh, were you?
I was in Glendale. I was
nice.
There. Or we saw him catch the kickoff, right? Because I was in one of the end zone seats, and he ran it back to the other end zone. But you just watched this whole open up, and he just he smacked right through there, and it was so fast. It was going nuts.
And then he celebrated.
And then the rest of the game happened.
Yeah, then he celebrated and messed up his ankle. All right, so Felix is waiting on pins and needles for this because I told him I did not have Teddy Ginn as my punt returner, and this was just a pure passion pick because I loved him. I had to put him in here somewhere, and he was a great returner. Do you know who I'm going to pick? Dane Sanzenbacher.
Oh, hey.
Dane Sanzenbacher, one of those guys, possession receivers, but he's a great returner. Took a couple to the house. Actually, did he take one against Michigan? I believe.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I believe he did. I think he did in 86, didn't he? No? He did in one of the years I thought he did. Felix is shaking his head. We'll see. All right, let's go. All right, let's go to defensive line. There's so many people here, but Dan, what do you think for defensive line? It's a tough category.
I went through who I just got the most excited about whenever he lined up. I thought, man, he's going to make a play here, and he came in through some clutch situations with Will Smith. That's who I went with. It was tough. This one was tough.
Yeah,
but I ended up going with Will Smith.
This one is.
Then they just offered his son a scholarship.
Yeah, I saw that
just the other day.
Yeah, I saw that. We're right here. He was definitely on my list. This was a tough one because you have all the internal linemen. You have the Bosa brothers. You have, so many people on that line.
Wilkinson.
Big Daddy Wilkinson, and we had, Hayward rather. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot, and just recently you have the Bosas. You have Hubbard. You have so many.
Young?
Well, that's who I have. That's who I ended up putting. Is Chase Young. I ended up going with Chase Young. He was a freak. This was a tough one. I had Will Smith for a long time, but I ended up going with Chase Young. All right. We'll finish off defense and we'll go to offense, even though these are some tough ones. All right. So what do you have for linebacker?
This is another one where I went back and forth, and who I initially thought I was going to go with Andy Katzenmoyer because he was just a stud.
He was a stud his first year.
However, AJ Hawk.
Yeah.
He was gritty. He wasn't the flashiest with Schlegel and Carpenter there, but man, he just did all the dirty work and got it all done. And so AJ Hawk.
Yeah. I loved AJ. I think it's a great pick. There were so many. Marcus Merrick, Tom Kuzno. Everybody forgets about Tom Kuzno. What a great player he was. There were so many great linebackers. But
even from where I'm at, I should have probably went with Randy Gradishar.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
right up the road.
Yep.
If I'm using Corey Stringer for that logic, but AJ Hawk.
Well, I'm going to hold you to some of that logic later on. So, I mean, a lot of great linebackers, but come on. I mean, there's one that stands out above the rest. He finished in the top 5 for the Heisman 3 times or 2 times as a linebacker, and the only person it can be is Chris Spielman. Chris Spielman is the linebacker. He's Ohio State.
Who's going to argue that one?
Yeah, we're doing a segment later on. Who's the 4 faces of the Buckeye Mount Rushmore? That's a guy that you got to consider on that list. I'm just saying. I'm not foreshadowing or anything. I'm just saying. Chris Spielman is Buckeye. And people think of Buckeyes. He's one of those faces that you know and you recognize. Again, if you're watching on the YouTube or Twitter or Twitch or Facebook, if you want to chat, we'll get the chats and we can give a shout out to you. And also make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any episodes. They'll all be recorded as well, and you'll be able to play that through. Felix is just waiting to talk, so he's going to let us have it. All right. DBs, this is a really tough category. Again, I think there's one answer. I think I know where you're going to go. I'm guessing, Dan, but defensive backs.
So this was hard for me, actually. But I went back to who was the first DB that I thought was just amazing, and that was Shawn Springs.
Yeah.
So that's who I went with.
Yeah, I love Shawn Springs. He was one of my favorite Buckeyes of all time. Mm-hmm. Amazing career, amazing Buckeye. I think I know where Felix will go on that one, but I did not go there. I went. Where is this at? Oh, there it is. Jack Tatum. Had to go Jack Tatum. Felix agrees with me. He's giving me the thumbs up. Yeah, I had to go Jack him. There's so many people. I loved Mike Doss. Antonio Winfield was amazing. Shawn Springs is one of my favorite places. Yeah, this was a tough one too.
Well, for me, it was really between Shawn Springs and Chris Gamble.
Yeah.
Because Chris Gamble could play some shutdown corner, and then he flipped around and he also played some receiver. I mean, that famous pass interference call in the national championship.
We will be talking about that later.
Yeah, he kind of sold that, and I think that's probably because he was a DB and he knew what to do and how to react in that situation, which helped us win a national championship game. So
glad we don't have calls into the show because I'm sure we're going to get a lot of people bitching about that one. All right, so that's a pretty good list so far. I like that.
Hey, I love what Jim Tressel said after that game regarding that call. He just goes, human error is part of the game. Cracks me up to this day.
All right, let's move on to offense and go tight ends. I have no idea where you're going this. I know where you should go with it, but I know you're not.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah, I want you to go
first.
You're
going to hate this pick too, but for me, it's Ricky Dudley. He was a stud.
I actually thought that's who you were going to put.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, for me, is Ben Hartsock as well. Like, I just remember him. I think it was him against Texas. He just missed this ball that hit him right here, and we ended up losing. It just annoyed me. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Ricky Dudley's definitely up there. Hartsock. There's Hoyerman was great. He didn't play. I mean, there's a lot of them. But there's one. I went chalk here, but John Frank, greatest Buckeye tight end ever, hands down. Case closed. Sorry. I loved Ricky Dudley. Yeah, he was so slow, it seemed like, though. He's just so big and lumbering. He was great. I loved watching him play. So, all right. So these next three categories, I've changed this so many times. Yeah, just so you know, I'm not watching the time because I'm not going to be able to. I need a timer on this. Wide receivers, I've changed this a million times on all these. I think wide receiver was the easiest of this bunch, and I went Chris Carter. I went old number 2. Another one of those guys like Spielman that when you think Ohio State football, he's one of those guys. Hall of Famer. Had to go with Chris Carter, and that's when I was really not first started watching, but I loved watching him. He could catch. I mean, he was so exciting, and he was awesome. And we've had so many receivers. I will say Jackson Smith and Jigba is probably going to rewrite all the record books, and I love watching him play. So didn't throw anybody new on here, but it's tough. And I love Chris Olave. I've loved so many. I love Brian Hartline. There's so many, but I had to go with Chris Carter on this one.
So my initial pick was Chris Carter, but I thought, you're probably going to have that, and I didn't win. So I'm like, who was exciting? And to me, I mean, obviously through the years, but man, some of those Cooper teams, and it's David Boston. David Boston came in and broke a bunch of records, and that was even during the Eddie George era where we were just handing the ball off to him. If we didn't have Eddie George and we had to go, focus a little bit more on an air attack, I think David Boston could have been even better. He was a stud, man.
He was a total stud.
Yeah. He was just fun to watch.
Terry Glenn around those same time too. It's like, he's another Buckeye that's gone. Again, it seems like because it's Ohio State, there seems like there's so many players at each position. This was a lot harder than I anticipated. The next two were my hardest. That's why I left them for last. I'm going to let you go first on running backs.
Oh, you're going to hate it.
Oh, God.
Because Ohio State has a love-hate relationship with this guy. But Warren Harding, class of 2002, I'm going with Maurice Claret.
No.
That's who I'm going with.
No, I'm good with that.
If I want one running back in a game to win it,
no.
Who needs to make a play?
I'm okay with that. I don't think he's the greatest Buckeye of all running back of all time. He only played the 1 year, so I discount him just for that itself. But
it was a pretty good year.
It was a good year. No, and I like how he's kind of turned things around in his life because I mean the aftermath of all that time was just crazy stories. So I'm glad that he's back on his feet and doing well.
Man, when he ripped that ball out of Shawn Taylor's hand,
saved the game. That was
national championship game. holy Moses.
Yeah.
I went nuts.
Oh.
Nuts.
Yeah, the swing of emotion there was just unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. It was different. That year was different because it'd been so long, and since that time we've, been on the fringes of making there every year. But that year was magical. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I don't even remember who I ended up going with. I had to, I could not go with Archie. I played around with Eddie and even JK. I mean, they've had so many good running backs. Archie, I mean, he had almost 2,000 yards, more yards than any other Ohio State running back. Granted, he had, 4 years in, but yeah, I mean, again, he is the guy when you think of Ohio State football. He's who most people who aren't Ohio State fans thinks of Archie. Obviously, the only 2-time Heisman Trophy winner. He should have won it his sophomore year. His best year was his sophomore year. One of the things getting ready for the show that I didn't realize, I will say, is I had a hard time picking him because those lines you and I could have run through. To be honest with you, you watch the film of those things. It was it was crazy. But he had his best year, I think, that sophomore year. But he averaged 11 yards a carry, 11.1 yards a carry for his career. 11. I had no idea. I would have guessed like 7 or so. 11. That's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right. I like our list. I like this. I don't think there's anything totally shocking except Rambo. I think that's shocking as hell.
Yeah, it was a great pick. Thank you.
No, it wasn't a great pick, but all right. All right. I'm going to let you go first on this one. Quarterbacks. I can't wait to see what you do here.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. So
you tell me you didn't.
I went with the logic of, okay, I need one game to win. Maybe for a national championship, maybe against the team up north, which
okay, well that takes that out. I'm liking where you're going with this.
Well, you keep mentioning the state up north because apparently you're doing something with Detroit, so fine that you have to, but I'm not going to use that M word today.
Yeah, no.
But I went Cardale Jones. That's who I went with. I know. The brief period of time, talk about the biggest moments. He shined brightest in the biggest games when he had to. If I'm putting the ball in one guy's hands, he's huge. He made good decisions. Won some important football games for us.
Yes, he did, and that was an amazing run. It was an amazing run, but
it was really between him or Steve Belisari. I wasn't sure.
Steve Belisari. I don't really know how to react to that. I love 12 Gauge. He's a Buckeye legend, always will be because of what happened. The next year was a disaster. I totally blame Urban Meyer. There's no reason on God's earth he should have started that next year. That was ridiculous. What JT had done for that team and his career. It's a different for us not doing better that year. It's crazy. That's a ridiculous pick. I'm going to tell you right now. I love it, and it's a great memory. Yeah. And if you go with guys that just won us national championship, I don't even remember where I ended up on this. He's just my favorite Buckeye of all time, so I didn't really have much of a choice. Where is it at? Where'd he go? Where's my guys? Oh, there it is. Do I think he's the greatest Buckeye quarterback of all time? No. I love his story. I love how he developed from where he was as a freshman into what he became. I'm bummed that he ended up getting sick in the NFL. I would have liked to see what he could have done, but I had to go Troy Smith. Yeah. I had to go Troy Smith. I love Joe Germain. Statistically, Bobby Hoying had to have been up there. CJ is going to rewrite all the record books. He's going to rewrite all the records. You know what? Let's see what Felix says about this later. Let's see how you feel, Dan. I almost changed to JT Barrett. That might be an unpopular pick. I mean, statistically, all his numbers are going to be up there, but he was such a tough guy and such a leader for that team. He put that team on his back time and time and time again. I thought about switching. I just love Troy. And I love JT, but I had to go with Troy Smith. But JT Barrett probably would have been my second one.
Well, it was so the national championship against Florida, and obviously what Troy Smith came in and did he was just given a scholarship as an athlete. He really didn't have a position when he came in. So what he accomplished was just tremendous. I mean, there's nothing short of that. But JT Barrett, you're right. It seemed like we needed a leader, we needed someone to make a good decision, we needed someone to make a play. Oh man,
I think he got a bad rap the last year. So everybody said he couldn't throw. Remember, his first year he could throw fine. I don't know what happened, but I think a lot of Buckeyes started hating him and was frustrated with him. But he's still he'll get it done. Whether he missed throws or not, he'd get it done for you. He did it all the time. I also think about putting Smooth Jazz on this list. Little Kenny Guyton, but I didn't. All right, that's a good list. All right, let's transition out of this. We're probably a little bit behind schedule. Let's move on here to a section we like to call Growing Up Buckeye. And there he is. Unmute yourself, Felix.
Hello, everyone.
There he is. He's ready to go. All right, Felix. So, welcome to Sports Bias with Cleveland J. I want you to, first of all, tell everybody, I know you want to jump in on this, but I want you to first, look at this. I love this. I first want you to tell everybody a little bit about who you are, like you, and I don't know if you want to go into this, like me, you had a rough year medically, and we both had life-changing years, and I'm always praying every day that you're here with us and healthy, and you're with your babies, and I get to be with my babies. So you don't have to touch on that. I just wanted to acknowledge that. But so tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and your earliest Buckeye memory.
So my name's Jason. I'm actually from Columbus, Ohio, born in Homestead, Florida, but then raised here in Columbus, Ohio.
I did not know that.
Oh, I'm going to blow your mind here in a little bit. Just hold on for a second. You're going to be shocked. I've never told you this. So ever since I was 2, I've lived up here in Columbus.
Right.
Spent some years in Chicago where I met Jay, but lived on the east side of Columbus, went to Ohio State. Now I live in the Dublin area in Columbus. My first Buckeye memory, it's 1985. So for those of you old enough and lived in Central Ohio at the time, the games played on Saturday, but every Sunday morning they would replay the game on WOSU, PBS. So you could watch the games the next day. So as a kid, and it's 85, I'm 7 at the time, I really wasn't watching football at noon on a Saturday because I'm outside playing. But I'd watch them Sunday morning. And my first memory is Jim Carsado throwing a touchdown pass against Iowa on a rainy day in 1985. And if you look at that team was stacked. You Tuber was the punter, you had Carsado, you had Chris Carter, you had Spielman, Pepper Johnson, Keith Byers. Just the amount of pros on that team
stacked
was outstanding. So that's my earliest Buckeye memory.
Yeah, Carsados.
Now, your guys' list.
Well, hold on. I got to check my notes here on something because I got to make time for this. So let's do this. I know you want to get to this, but I'm going to make you wait. I want you to tell the story of how we met first.
So it's January 2002. It's about noon on a Monday afternoon. I just picked up my Maurice Clarett jersey from the UPS shipping center because couldn't get to me in time. And I go to Jack Sullivan's on Clybourne. And I'm there with my buddy Dave. And there's a group of guys sitting next to us still at noon, wondering who the hell are they, playing board games. And throughout the day, introduce ourselves. We start playing, it was a Monopoly or Stratego or whatever we were playing.
Monopoly, yeah.
Monopoly. And that's how I met Jay. And then we win the game. And we're you guys are sitting down in front of the TV.
Yeah.
I'm about 2 tables away, sitting at a bar stool. And next thing I know, I high-five Dave. And then I crawl over a bunch of people and I high-five Jay. And still had that bar stool up my butt.
Yeah, those bar stools were there were no bar stools worse on the planet than that place, but it was the greatest sports bar ever of all time as far as I'm concerned.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So then there was like a couple years hiatus, and then we ran back into each other at the Texas game in 2005.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Dan. You mentioned Ben Hartsock, and that just hurts.
Yeah.
Every inch of my being.
He got death threats because of that.
Game. We win that game. Who knows what happens that season? Do we still lose to Penn State? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it'd been interesting to find out. Now, going back to the growing up Buckeye. So my mother lived in Miami, Homestead. My older brother, who was 7 when I was born, big Miami fans, big Dolphin fans.
Is that Joe?
No, it's my brother Jeff. I don't think you ever met him.
Okay.
So, as a kid in the 80s, Buckeye struggled. They were on TV, but they struggled. So I'd watch the Buckeyes. I'd root for the Buckeyes. But I actually cheered for Miami. Back in the Testaverde, Toretta years. Because I didn't know better.
It's time. It's time, Dan. You're about to get rickrolled.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you.
His first offering,
So as I got older,
just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed. His first offering.
Sorry, I hit it again on accident. I don't know.
you're hitting me with everything.
Yeah, I know. It won't go away.
We can edit that out.
Yeah, the rickroll thing's still playing.
Edit that out.
The rickroll thing's still playing. It's still supposed to play once, but it's kind of appropriate. You obviously never told me.
No.
This. I'm trying to find rickroll. Yeah, there it is. All right, go on. I'm in shock.
So, but as I got older, as I started hitting 8, 9, I started changing allegiances. I went to a couple of games as a kid, and then I really become a huge fan in the early 90s. About 7th, 8th grade, we started selling hot dogs and concessions at the Ohio Stadium. My brother's baseball team did, and I would just find an usher and hang out with an usher. And my greatest memory as an Ohio State fan is 94. Was it 94? 95 against Notre Dame. Terry Glenn catches the ball on the hook route, and then runs to the north end zone, and that's where I was at, B deck of the north end zone. It's like he's running towards me. So that solidified everything at that point.
I have to reveal this. I have to be transparent. Were you conflicted, Dan, in that game? I found out prepping for this show that there's people who know me. There's no other team that I obviously dislike the most is that team up north. I want them to be good. I want them to win. I want the Big Ten to be strong. I dislike Notre Dame so much more than I dislike the team up north. I found out that Dan is I can't even say it, a Notre Dame fan.
Heck yeah, I am. So I had a cousin who went there when I was real young, and he actually knew Rick Meyer, and so he just got me a bunch of Notre Dame stuff and autograph stuff. And so for a while there, then Rudy came out. I mean, who doesn't love Rudy? Except for you, Jay, I guess. But
no,
I mean, I follow him, but when they play, I root for Ohio State. And so, like, next year, I think Ohio State's going to just trounce them. I mean, it's not even close, especially how we ended with the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be all right.
So, go ahead, Felix.
As somebody who was previously a fan at the early age of another team, you can grow out and then hate that other team.
Well, so one of the memories I have from that game, and I want to talk about that in a second, but remember those Miami fans that came across that there were a couple of Miami fans at this bar, Jack Sullivan's in Chicago, and they kept on going to the bathroom right in front of us, and they were just jerks. Again, they're rooting for their team. I'm sure they weren't jerks. It was just us being young and stupid. But it seems like they were egging us on, and they came to an Ohio State bar for that game, so probably wasn't a Miami.
Well, we had no chance. We had no chance in that game. It was
no
us for Alabama. Miami was the Alabama at the time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We had no chance. But they were coached by an idiot that year.
Yep.
and we were coached by Tressel, and that was the difference in the game.
Yeah. So my memory of that day is very similar, but the story that you told, I remember because it's one of my favorite memories of all time, Buckeye memory. So yeah, I met Felix, national championship game 2002, and now he's a brother, and I love him. And I'm so thankful that that day happened. And I got there at 8, me being the freak that I am. My friend Greg and I got there when the bar opened at 8 o'clock in the morning. We brought all these board games to play and met Felix. He came over, and was playing, it was noon. The game didn't start till 8 o'clock at night. So I have no idea how much we drank that night. I'm sure I had a lot of Diet Coke though, too. I remember that game. I remember our table was right up front, and we're on those bars, those ungodly bar stools. And I was like on the floor with my head on the bar stool, kind of just like trying to not watch the last play. I was so nervous, and it was like a dream sequence. The ball dropped, and I remember I was kneeling down, and we won the game. And I remember looking, the entire bar, I could see underneath everybody's feet. Like everybody jumped up and it was like paused. I was like in a different dimension, and I just saw the entire bar with no feet on the bar. And I'm like, whoa. And then the feet land and the place erupts. And I just see Felix knocking down tables and pushing people out of the way. I mean, tables were like moving. He's just racing up to me, and we're just like, ah! Yeah, that was one of my favorite memories. I also remember something really stupid about that day. My ex-wife, did you ever meet Tammy Felix?
No.
I don't think so.
Maybe.
I don't think she never went out. So, but I remember calling her after we won, and living with me, understanding how significant it was for Ohio State to win and how excited I would be. Excuse me. I call her afterwards. I'm outside. I call her, we won. And she goes, "Oh, good. Are you on your way home now?" Yeah. I remember that too. Yes, that was a great day. Dan, what are some other memories you have? Your greatest Buckeye memories?
Well, that 2002 team was just phenomenal. I was living in Oklahoma at the time. I was doing an internship, like barely making any money, barely paying rent, and here I am. I'm the only Buckeye fan in probably that whole freaking state, at least that I knew of. And all the people that I worked with and associated with were just huge Sooner fans. And the majority of that year, they were ranked number 1, and no one was going to touch them. And it was going to be them in Miami and whatnot. And then Oklahoma State beat them. And then that team that year, Ohio State, just kept winning. I remember that Purdue game.
Barely.
Jenkins catch. Yeah.
Oh,
they just
holy
kept
Buckeye.
winning. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. And next thing you know, we're playing Miami, who exactly right was the Alabama at the time. Talk about a dynasty. We didn't have a shot.
Yeah, nobody gave
one
a shot.
gave Ohio State. Yeah, nobody at all. And I'm watching it on probably, I don't know, a 17-inch TV in my little apartment, right? And I'm like, my face is plastered up against the TV the whole time, and it was just nuts. And then when they finally won, oh my goodness, that was a lot of fun. I had some people over for the game, and they were giving me crap all game because, Miami was untouchable, and if they're just going to blow it up at any moment they're going to blow it open. And then was it Willis McGahee that his knee got blown out, and we didn't really have a great answer for Kellen Winslow that year, right? But then they stopped giving him the ball, and then again the defense was just
he blew out his knee. Remember,
ended a dynasty. I mean, Miami hasn't been right since.
No.
I mean, you can call it sanctions and whatever happened with them the next few years, but
they got Buckeyed.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
So, that was one of my favorite all-time Buckeye memories was that 02 team.
Yeah. All right, Felix. It's now you're on. Have you forgotten everything out yet? That was my goal.
No, I got your list memorized, and I only have a couple issues.
Okay.
With the list. I don't know if you're able to bring it back up with all 3 of us on here.
Yeah, I can go back
Probably
here.
Not. But the QBs, Cardell Jones, we're just going to let you slide on that one. I knew you were going to go. I knew you would go Troy Smith.
Yeah.
But honestly, right now, the number 1 quarterback that I would start would be Justin Fields. It's not recency bias, but I would go Justin Fields.
Yeah.
The other ones, Sanzenbacher. Jay, come on now.
I told you it was a passion
One.
pick. I told you it was a passion pick.
I know it was a passion pick, but I think you're having some mental blockage here. Is that he returned punts, but he never returned one more than 8 yards.
That's not true.
The guy who made that touchdown against Michigan on the punt return was Jordan Hall.
Yeah, I remember Hall doing it, but I didn't think that was that year. I'm telling you right now, Sanzenbacher took one to the house, and maybe more than one. I guarantee it.
Sanzenbacher was with the Terrell Pryor years.
Yeah.
So yeah, he didn't take. Maybe I'm wrong, but he was not
I
excited.
promise you, you're wrong. All right, let's hear. What else? What else you got?
So the other punt returner I would select would be David Boston.
Yeah.
If you're not going again, you got to go David Boston. And then when it comes to Kenyon Rambo, just please.
Look at his stats.
Unfortunately,
His stats won't add up.
There's a dark period of Ohio State football, and those are like the last 3 years of the Cooper years, and like the first year of the Trussell era. So there's a lot of guys in that era that you kind of forget about, even when they were good. One of my good friends from high school who played for Ohio State was starting middle linebacker at that period of time. He was damn good, but you don't remember him. He gets lost. A lot of them get lost from that frame because you remember the guys from the mid 90s and the team in 98, and then 99 and 2000 you just forget about.
Yeah.
Because they lost to Miami in that kickoff game and got blown out, and then poof, they just went downhill. So problem with offensive line and defensive line, linebackers, you limited yourself to one. You had to choose one.
Right.
Instead of saying, okay, if it's a team, at least give 3 linebackers, and you can go Hawk, Gradishaw, and Spielman.
Yeah.
Or Cousineau,
Yeah.
Hawks, in order you want.
Would have been
the
much
same way
easier.
With defensive line,
Yeah.
you could go Wilkinson, one of the Bosa's, Young, Fickle, Vrabel, Bill Willis, and you could add more. The same way with offensive line. I agree with Dan with Stringer. Stringer was awesome. He was one of the first great tackles at Ohio State after the 60s and 70s. The 80s were a little low. You had really good players. You had Lachey at guard, who would be on my all-time list for guard, along with then you have LaCharles Bentley, Otis Parker, Jim Parker. Then you have Otis on the outside. I'm losing my name. Then you have Stringer and Pace on the outside. Yeah. And wide receivers, your same issue. You just got too many of them to just select one. And I would lean against Carter when it comes to his Ohio State years because he only played 2, and then he got booted for some drug issues. And we get biased because of his NFL career. But he would have a hard time making the top 4, in my opinion, for wide receivers when you have Boston, Terry Glenn, Joey Galloway.
Yeah. All right, it's not too bad.
Olave is going to –
yeah.
He just broke a bunch of – even from a freshman standpoint, he was a stud as a freshman.
There's so many.
That's my quarterback. We talk running back. Archie's the guy.
Yeah.
So there's no issue. There's no issue there. So – punt returner and kick returner. Those two names, Sanzenbacher and Rambo, I just no.
All right. Let's move on. I gave you your time. Oh yeah, we should have gone to this screen. I like this screen better. I like this screen.
Yeah.
Hi Brutus. I see Brutus back there. This one was better than this one. Yeah, this one's better. Yeah. All right. Now I know. That's kind of what I tried to do. I tried to play with some different scenes too to see what works best moving forward. All right. It is time for Buckeye trivia. All right. We'll see how this goes. We're going to kind of do this quickly so we can keep on moving forward. I didn't have these planned out until about an hour and a half ago. So we will see how it goes. All right. Let me get the list here. I will kind of trade off. let you guys pick. I'll ask one to each player, and then the other one can get it. All right. So let's start with Dan. Okay. We're gonna start with Dan. In the mid '80s, what Ohio State quarterback chucked the ball out of bounds to stop the clock on 4th down, with seconds remaining against Purdue? I remember it like it was yesterday. I was so pissed off.
I have no idea.
Take a guess. '80s. He's actually the quarterback who I believe had the longest NFL career.
I have no idea. Like
Felix, you want to answer?
Well, if you're giving me that hint, it's Mike Tomczak.
Yeah, it's Mike Tomczak. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I remember it like they were driving down there on, I think, the 18, 19 yard line, driving right down the field. They were trying to stop the clock, and that time you couldn't spike the ball. You used to have to throw it out of bounds. He threw it out of bounds, and it was 4th down. Yeah. Yeah, it was not good. All right, let's go. This one's for you, Felix. Okay. Speaking of which, in the mid-1980s, Tom Tupa wore this number with the Buckeyes. Picture it.
And it's a single digit.
It is not.
I can't remember if it wasn't 10.
Dan, do you know?
Fry was 5.
I have no idea. 57.
No, it would be a punt. Now, did you know these when you picked the questions, or you have to look them up yourself?
I knew most of them. There's some I didn't. I remember Tupa very well. So
12?
he was 19.
19. Okay,
He was
yeah, that's
19.
right.
All right, Dan, this one's for you. Let me erase the other one. In the mid-1990s, or the 1990s, the Buckeyes had several All-Americans. Which of the following Buckeye linebackers was never an All-American in that decade? Niall Diggs, Andy Katzenmoyer, Greg Belisari, or Steve Tovar?
I'm going to say Niall Diggs. I have no idea.
Felix?
My guess would be Belisari.
Belisari. I did not know this. I had Diggs too. Tovar was a beast.
Diggs played in that 99 2000 era.
Yeah. He was a beast. All right, let's
So he gets
see.
forgotten.
Felix, this one's for you. Or who is it? Felix turn? Yeah.
Yeah.
Ohio State went 27-2 from 1968 to 1970, only losing to Michigan and what other team?
It would be my guess would be USC.
It's a good guess because it was in the Rose Bowl. You figured that out right. It was Stanford.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I remember from my brothers and so forth that game. They used to talk about it all the time. All right, so here we go, Dan. These are hard. I know. Not doing too well, but that's all right. Prior to Ohio State, Earl Bruce was the head coach at what Midwestern University?
Bowling Green.
Nope. Felix?
I have no clue. Miami.
Iowa State. Where did he go after Ohio State? Colorado State.
That's
This
right.
one, I had no idea. This one at all. So either one of you guys
Bit
know
nasty.
this one. Pepper Johnson played in the early 1980s for the Buckeyes. For how many, and for many years in the NFL, what was Pepper Johnson's real first name?
Mike.
Oh,
Good close. You're close. Something common. Yeah, I had no idea. Thomas. Thomas. All right. Where was Woody Hayes born?
Ohio.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Clifton. All right. Have we gotten one right yet?
Yeah, I just got
yeah.
Ohio.
Well, no,
Ohio.
not really.
All right. You're going to get this one right. This one you will get right.
Felix
Who were the
got
first
Mike
father and
Tomczak.
son combo to have captained the Buckeyes?
That'd be the Herb Streets.
That would be the Herb Streets indeed. All right. Ohio State's first national
I don't
title
know
came in
the
1942 by what legendary coach?
Paul Brown.
What?
Paul Brown.
Paul Brown is correct. We're on a roll. All
Dude,
right.
those general ones are a little easier than the specific games and dates.
Hey, I did an hour before the show. When the was the last thing I did. When the Buckeyes played in 2002-2003 national championship game, what was the final score? We talked about our greatest memories from those days.
31-24.
31-24 is correct. All right. What was Woody's real first name or full name?
Thomas.
Wayne Woodrow Hayes.
Wayne Woodrow Hayes is correct. And last but not least, the Buckeyes had a great line of running backs through the mid-1990s. Which of the following running backs is paired with their incorrect jersey number from their Buckeye days? Butler Benote, number 33, Robert Smith, number 26, Pepe Pearson, number 28, and Raymond Harris, number 34. Man, Raymond Harris was a great back. I loved watching him play. One of those numbers is wrong. And again,
I
this
have
one was
the
a little,
answer. I'm letting Dan go first.
This one's a little
I have
easier
no
for me
idea.
because this is like when you guys were watching your heyday, this was like my heyday time.
Well,
It's-
I'm going to
it's
guess.
Pepe
I'm going to say
Pearson.
Robert Smith. Oh, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
It's
I thought Robert Smith
it's
was
Pepe
24.
Pearson, he's 29.
Yes, he was 29. That is correct. We finished on a roll. Yeah, give me some claps.
Well, you got it like threw the ball in the fourth quarter out of bounds.
That's a famous Buckeye play. That's a famous Buckeye play. If you look up trivia, it's almost always on there. Give me flack. All right. I have no idea what's next, so we're just going to move on. All right, it is time for the four faces of the Buckeye Mount Rushmore. Again, we do have some people watching live, so please, if I did that right, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any episodes. We have a great episode next week, which is a team that I am not, that familiar with, the Detroit Tigers. Some friends wanted to do the episode. The following week, we're doing the Cleveland Indians on January 30th. I'm actually doing it with my nephew, Colin. Dan might join us for that as well. And on February 6th, we're doing the greatest sports movies of all time. So, again, if you're just joining us, you're watching Sports Bias with Cleveland J, where we are talking all things Buckeyes. And right now, we're going to talk about the four faces that would be on the Buckeye Mount Rushmore. I've changed this one. I changed it 5 times today. So, I am going to give you mine first. And then I'll let you two hammer it out. I gotta find where the little thing is there. Or did I delete it? Did I delete it? I might have deleted it. I might have to retype it.
Well, when you do it 5 times, you probably delete it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I got it. Our conversation earlier, Felix, I had to switch. I had to give it up. I had to put some more thought into it, and you know what?
Sorry to ruin your day.
No, you didn't ruin my day. I'm going to let Dan go first on this one.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to say nobody from my all-time Buckeye lineup is on my Buckeye Mount Rushmore.
Wow.
And it was because there's so many players.
Yeah.
Right? There's just so many. And
Orlando
I'm
Pace
going
is not on your Mount Rushmore is what you're saying. Well, yeah. You had Corey
wasn't on
Stringer.
the list.
Yeah, you had
He
Corey
wasn't on my
Stringer.
list. Yeah. And then I was going over this with a buddy, and he's like, "You got to put Woody Hayes on there." And I go, "Well, he's not a player, right?" So I just went with players here, right? So Archie Griffin, he's on there. If you think Ohio State football, he's right up there. I did go. Chris Spielman was on this, just for all the reasons you listed earlier. I went with AJ Hawk as my starting linebacker, just because the era in which I grew up and watched and all that stuff, and being there, it was just fun for me. So, but then I actually went.
So did you put Hawk on is Hawk one of them?
Hawk is not on the list.
Okay.
No.
So we got Griffin and Spielman.
Spielman, that's why. So I put Spielman on the Mount
Okay.
Rushmore with Archie Griffin, and then I put Paul Warfield. Again, he's just from my hometown. He ended up playing at Ohio State. Obviously, did some really good things in the NFL. But a lot of the things that he's done for sports and the community in general, he's just been a great representative of the university and everything. So I went Paul Warfield there. And then I wanted to put him on the list, but I didn't. So I put him on my Mount Rushmore. He's just getting elected into the College Football Hall of Fame is Mike Doss. I just thought everything that he's done, everything that he did, and then after football, just representing the university, great. Which I know that's no one else is going to put him on there, but I just think Mike Doss was all things Buckeyes. So,
All right, Felix, reactions to that?
No, I'm okay with that. I don't know if I have any of them on my Rushmore, but I'm not going to argue with him about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't really either. I mean, Doss was up there too in my list as well. Paul Warfield, again, for the reasons you stated, Dan, probably more so than his playing. But he was a great receiver as well. He's one of those guys where I don't necessarily people think Ohio State. When people think of Paul Warfield, they think of his NFL career, but I can live with that. Felix, I already know two of Felix's, and so I'm going to put those on here.
Well, hey, who knows if I've stuck with that?
Okay.
I can change mine too.
All right. What do you got?
if you changed yours 5, he changed his 6.
No, I didn't change. So I'm gonna go in chronological order here, and I'm gonna start off with Chick Harley. Without Chick Harley, there's no Ohio State football as we know it. So I start with him. Second is gonna be Bill Willis for breaking the color barrier at Ohio State, being All-American and what he did. And as you see, I'm doing this more, not so much what they did on the field, but also their historical impact.
Mm-hmm.
That brings me to
Wayne Woodrow Hayes.
I'm actually going to change this.
Oh,
I'm going to go Paul Brown.
all right.
Just his short period here, but if you think of Buckeye football, if you just think Buckeye and Ohio State football, and you go and you think about the school and its impact on the state as a whole and football in the state as a whole, there's no greater Buckeye football person than Paul Brown. He modernized the game. So instead of being cliche and putting Hayes up there, I'm going Paul Brown.
Well, gee, thanks, Felix. It wasn't cliche 3 hours ago when we talked. Jackass. All right. So Brown, Pace. Oh, you didn't get to
and
the
then
last one.
The last one is Orlando Pace.
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
Most dominant football player at any position ever in Ohio State history.
Yep. All right. So yeah, I actually considered Paul Brown and Willis as well. I ended up going with Woody because I guess I'm cliche. That's you had Woody on your list 3 hours ago, so those are good lists.
I just changed it. When we talked about Paul Brown earlier with the question, I forgot about Paul Brown.
So you changed it on the show.
Yeah, I changed it right when you asked me what my 4 were.
Love it. All right. It works. That works. Yeah, I'm interested to see as the show continues and I do other teams and other episodes, maybe because we're fans, it's much harder and we probably know more of the history and maybe even more of the impact that they have off the field as well than we wouldn't necessarily know. But I think it'll be easier doing teams I don't know. Their Mount Rushmore. I found this really hard. Again, how you define it, how do you choose all those, and it's a tough thing. So I'm interested to see how that plays out in other things. So I have, as cliche as it might be, Archie Griffin, Orlando Pace, Chick Harley, and Woody Hayes. So it wasn't even an hour ago. I mean, it was more like 10 minutes ago. You had, cliche Woody Hayes in there. I went back and forth with Paul Brown and Woody Hayes. I guess because I grew up with Woody and that was when I grew to love Ohio State. I had a big influence from my parents with Paul Brown too, but that's when I fell in love with Ohio State football, is when Woody was there in those days. And it was hard for me not to do that. Archie, we've talked about. I couldn't not put him on the list. To me, he is the face of Ohio State football. If I had to pick one guy who is the face of Ohio State football, I would say it's Woody Hayes. I'm sorry, Archie Griffin. Orlando Pace for exactly the same reasons Felix said. He's the most dominant player at any position we have. So he has to be on that list. Dan.
There is a wonderful
Orlando
YouTube
Pace
video.
whatsoever.
There's a young
That's how
one.
it feels.
There's a wonderful YouTube video out there. I think it came from an SI article about Orlando Pace, from his teammate through college and the NFL, and then the people he played against, talking about how special he actually was. And if you ever have the time to find that video, I recommend watching it, because you hear Vrabel and Finkus and Fickle talk about going against him in practice, and they would argue about who's going to line up against Orlando. They would try to duck him.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. He was, again, there was the most dominant Buckeye ever of all time. So yeah, I like this list. I like it. It works for me.
And Jay, I think yours, if you ask the general public, they would probably have Griffin and Woody.
Yeah.
Probably Eddie.
Yeah. I see a lot of people have Eddie, as much as, I know you love Eddie too. And Dan, you probably do too, growing up, when you guys did. I love Eddie. I love Eddie. I remember his Heisman Trophy day. This is don't do this at home, kids. I wanted him to win the Heisman so bad. And I remember his freshman year and his sophomore year, the times he fumbled, and it was just like, it was so frustrating. And, he's in the doghouse, and seeing him come and do that is senior year, it was amazing. But I remember waking up, and I got to my friend's house at noon or something, and I was going to do a shot of tequila every hour until he was announced as the Heisman Trophy winner. I know.
Yeah, don't do that, kids.
One of my prouder moments in life.
Go back and watch tapes of those years, his season, and just track how many times they run the ball to the left side of the field, and then track how far he gets down the field before he gets touched.
Yeah.
And that's Orlando.
Yep. Yeah. That's a good list. I like this. All right. So where are we going next? I don't even know. We're going to go next. All right. I like this screen. You guys like this screen?
Sure.
I like this screen.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it. I can see more. I like seeing Brutus there. All right, so I have some quick questions for you. All right, if I can find them in this small font notes of mine, or I can just look up at my screen. All right, kind of real quick answers if we can. Knowing us so far, we probably can't do that. I want your favorite Buckeye coach. Your favorite, not the best. Your favorite Buckeye coach. Dan?
Well, for me, it's Tressel. Hands down. Coming from Youngstown, watching what he did at Youngstown State, and then getting hired. He was kind of like a no-name in the national spotlight. It was a real big deal when he got hired on. And I thought, man, he's taken I think he put Ohio State football back on the map. I think he made the game important again. And what he did in his tenure there was pretty spectacular. So, Tressel.
You're muted, Jay.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was coughing before. How many national championships did he win? 4 there at Youngstown, or 3?
I don't remember.
I think it was 4. I just remember him coming in, at the basketball game and making that announcement. He got it right away. And I lived up in Michigan during that time. The first time I lived in Michigan during the Cooper years, and that buddy I told you I talked to earlier, man, I survived the Cooper years up here. It was awful. It was awful. And John Cooper, I'm not sure there's many Buckeyes that like John Cooper. Maybe they can appreciate him. But the talent on those teams, and for us being 8-3 every damn year was frustrating. Felix,
Well,
your favorite?
doubt.
What?
He could recruit.
Oh yeah,
He could
question.
recruit.
yeah, definitely.
I agree with Dan. I mean, Tressel's the guy. I mean, you give us let's ask this question in 6 years and see if it's still Tressel.
Yeah.
Maybe it changes at that point. But piggybacking on what said Dan, something Dan said about Tressel putting Ohio State back on the map. Unfortunately, that was Cooper. after the Earl Bruce years, Earl Bruce was Mr. 8-3. Cooper had a rough 2 years, and then he turned it around and he started recruiting nationally instead of just in Ohio, which got us those teams in the mid '90s. And he put us back on the map, started making us a top 10 team again. Yeah, he would lose to Michigan, lose his bowl game, but he put us back. He put us back on the map. So when Tressel picked over, I mean, those were Cooper's guys too, except for Corrette.
Yep.
Those were Cooper's guys.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's Tressel easily, hands down for me. I hate how it ended. It's such a joke how it ended. The people that are Buckeye haters would jump on that, but the true story of all that is just ridiculous, especially what happens now in college football. And DeVere Posey and those guys. DeVere Posey got overpaid by $13 for that summer job. That was part of it. The tattoos and all that stuff and the memorabilia they stole. I don't like it, but it's their stuff. It was going to be their stuff when they're over. Selling the gold pants, I have a hard time with, but still, I mean, that's what we're talking about, and tattoos and stuff.
Well, let's keep in mind the hypocrisy of the NCAA, because that year they played Arkansas in the Sugar Bowl, and they were like, "Oh, this is a problem, but we're going to let them play for ratings, right? And we're going to be able to do that. Oh, and then we're going to take everything away, and then we're going to suspend, and then you're going to be fired."
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, if I may play devil's advocate real quick, if we don't fire Tressel, we're Iowa in the team. We don't become what we are now if Tressel stuck around. We would have never fired Tressel. If we would have kept winning, we would have never changed our attitude about football, and we would have never won that title in 2014. We would have never got the Bosa's. Well, maybe we'd have still got the Bosa's.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't have got the likes of Shawn. We wouldn't have got Larry Johnson in here, and we would have been Iowa.
I wasn't going to go here, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. As much as I think we all love Tressel, we needed to modernize. The game was changing, and we need to get there. That the Tressel ball was wearing thin on a lot of people. Yeah. I feel bad for Luke Fickell because he was always going to be the next coach, whether it was 5 years down the line when Tressel was done. He got into a really bad situation. I'm not so sure he's not our next coach. I think he very well might be our next coach. I think I might have said this to Dan. I think if we lose the Rose Bowl, Day left for the NFL. I think he would have left.
He's
not leaving.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
I do. I definitely think he's going back to the NFL.
I can sit here and say I have sources, but a good thing we only have 3 viewers this show, so this may not hit the interweb. The gossip may not hit that well.
Well, the replay is going to hit millions.
We're going to get a million views. But he has young kids, and he's repeatedly says that he doesn't want to leave until they are out of school. So I don't think he's going anywhere. He has his feet inside the community. He has his feet inside the school system, which his kids are going to go. He's not going anywhere unless we drive him out.
Fair enough. I'm on record. Felix can vouch for this. I have never liked Urban Meyer from day one. I've disliked him greatly. I think that as great as a coach he is, as great as a recruiter he is, as great as those teams were, almost every game we lost in his era, which is not many, I get that, was single-handedly his fault. The year after we won the national championship, that was just a total disaster. I've never liked the way I don't like his condescending tone. I don't like the way he came in and just threw kids under the bus and threw our program under the bus like we were nothing until he got there. And we obviously weren't. We were a national powerhouse, the program of all programs. And I didn't like his attitude towards that. I get that he's a Buckeye. He grew up there. I've never liked him. I think he's shady. I think that's been shown. So, we're not talking about least favorite things, but I had to put that back out there because I despise, I think, what happened in the NFL with him. I think it's great. I love it. So anything you want to say?
Sometimes you need a teacher that's a pain in the ass.
No, I get that.
No, sometimes you need a teacher that you hate to kick you in the ass. And he was that teacher. He actually had the same problems Tressel did at the end of his tenure too. As he was overseeing things and he was too loyal to certain people and he didn't want to change his offense to modernize.
Yep. So much for quick answers in this segment, right? All right. Quickly.
We're only 20 minutes overdue.
Okay, I knew we'd be. It's actually not bad. Favorite uniforms?
I'm going to go with the gray smoke ones that they wore against Penn State a few years back. I just love those. And then the comeback in that game, they're phenomenal. And then they had the black helmet with the scarlet Buckeye leaves. I just love them. I thought that was awesome.
Felix,
There's only one. There's
you
only
want to
one
comment on
correct
that?
answer. No, that's not worth my comment. There's only one.
not
Those would probably be my least favorite, Dan. In all honesty, I did like the
I
helmet,
love them.
but I did not. I don't like gray. They'd be like muted and like anyway. Felix,
Now, if you would have said the cocaine whites, I'd probably let you slide. But there's only really one answer, and that's the uniforms from '68 that we wear in the playoffs.
Yeah.
With the red with the thick stripes and the black letters on the top.
yep. Those are great. I actually those are one of probably my favorite as well. I did like the chrome helmet with the cocaine white uniforms. I did like the chrome helmet as an alternative. I like the classic, but for the kids and the recruiting, all that stuff, I think it's cool that they do that. I like the chrome helmet. I like the white jerseys better than the scarlet ones. I'm one of the few people that do. I love the white classic white uniforms. So, what do you guys think about the red ones? All red.
I wish they would have had the red.
Felix
I
is
wish
not
they would have
moving.
changed the helmet red if they were going to do it, but they were okay.
They didn't move the needle. I mean, it's for recruiting. It's red pants. Now, if they would have pulled out something like black jersey, red pants with the silver helmet, maybe. I don't think it would have worked. But
Yeah, I didn't
for
like
red
the
pants,
blackout
if
ones
red-
either.
Or they would have did red pants with white. That may have worked, but all red. I'm not a big fan of monotone uniforms in general,
I'm not either.
unless it's the Browns all whites.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed there. Those are my favorite uniforms of all time. All right, quickly. Favorite Buckeye tradition? Could be anything, including the band.
Well, I know obviously dotting the I is about 99% of everybody. So
Yep.
for me personally, though, I mean, obviously that's amazing. First time I walked into Buckeye Stadium, watched them dot the I I got chills.
Yeah.
But for me, we plan for that last game of the year, that Saturday after Thanksgiving now. And so just watching the game now with my son and everything, it's just, that's to me is it's it.
It's a good answer. It's a good answer, Dan. There you go. Little fist bump for you.
So when can something officially become a tradition?
Something new. I'm afraid.
So is beating Michigan can I be considered my favorite tradition?
Yes, because it's always been my favorite day of the year since I've been a kid.
But
It's funny
In
you
all
say that a
seriousness-
year we lost, but
yeah, so I say that, but probably my favorite thing about, and this is me just going to the stadium, is as much as I love Script, Ohio, when they're playing Le Regiment and they're doing their ramp entrance, there is nothing more just
goosebumps,
skin tickling, bone shattering, just I'm ready to run through a wall than hearing the drums under the ramp. And that goes back to me being a kid selling hot dogs in B-Deck on the north end zone and hearing them come underneath me.
Yep. That's tough to beat that. Yeah, the goosebumps there. I didn't even think about my answer to this. I was more asking you guys, but beating Michigan's always good. It's my favorite thing in the world. The band, Script Ohio, dotting the I, all of it, the Skull Session, Brutus. It's, I love it all. So I didn't even think of an answer for that. Favorite team, year, quickly.
95.
Team.
You said
Go ahead, Felix.
You said 02, Dan?
Yeah.
02? 95? I was torn between 95 and 2006. 2006 was mine. That's why the championship was so heartbreaking, but I'll say 2006. I don't know if we can do this quickly, but if we can, if something jumps out at you, most overrated Buckeye of all time.
Terrell Pryor.
Hard to say he was overrated. I hate the dude, but overrated. He was dynamic. As much as I hate him, I hated him. You know I did. Remember Cooper? We didn't even mention Cooper today. Yeah,
No.
our buddy Cooper. He's probably getting kicked out of some bar and sneaking back in right now.
I say that why Dan keeps saying I say that because there's a bunch of you could go back to a bunch of overrated high school guys that never happened. The Mike Mitchells, the Mike DeAndreas, the Reggie Germanys. You can go to that. But as somebody who was a number one overall recruit and just didn't develop. He was the same player his freshman year as he was his
senior year,
junior year.
Yeah, junior year. Yeah,
He didn't get a senior year.
Yeah.
It was his last year. He was the same player. He never developed as a quarterback. He still couldn't really throw the ball. It was, let me see what I can do outside the pocket. And he was a poor man's Braxton Miller.
We haven't even mentioned Braxton Miller tonight, and he's one of my favorite Buckeyes of all time. I wish he could have stayed healthy, but we wouldn't have seen JT. But I love Braxton Miller. I love that kid. Dan, do you have anybody for overrated?
I hate to call him overrated, but it's probably Justin Zwick. I mean, he was supposed to be the savior.
Without question, Justin Zwick, yeah.
Yeah. So, but then, I mean, just with Troy Smith coming into it, how do you go with Justin Zwick, right? I think Justin Zwick's highlight of his Buckeye career was at the Alamo Bowl. He put a block on the linebacker and flattened him and stood over top of him.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there. I was going to say Katzenmoyer because Katzenmoyer had that great freshman year until everybody said they determined they could just run right at him. You're looking at me like I'm crazy, Felix. He wasn't that good.
No, I believe he was an All-American his junior year.
He didn't deserve it. It was on name only. Secondly, but I'll take your Justin Zwick because he came in with all the hype, like cover of Sports Illustrated and everything. But there's a story about Justin Zwick I love. After Troy kind of took over for the team, he could have transferred. He could have transferred out and gone somewhere else and started. And I remember hearing an interview or seeing an interview with him about somebody asking him about that, and he just looked at him and said, "Hey, I'm a Buckeye. If I have to sit here and carry Troy's bags, his shoulder pads, that's what I'm going to do. I'm a Buckeye. I don't really have a choice." So I loved his answer. So I always remember that because, remember, I don't know if you guys remember watching him play for the Ohio State. He was awful. He was awful. So anyway, sorry. We'll skip that. All right. We're moving on to last segment. We're getting there. Again, if you're watching, I can't tell if there's any viewers right now, probably just friends and family. But again, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to host a show with me, let me know. Hopefully this turns off now. I had this problem last time with the screen, didn't I? We're going to have to get rid of this little scene. There it is. All right. Okay. There we go. It is time for the greatest Buckeye of all time. I did the best I could with the pictures on here. I don't even know if I can. I'm not going to. If I don't have the pictures in here, we're just going to say they're there. I'll put a text thing in there instead. I try to get as many pictures as I can to make this nice, but Dan, Buckeye fan Dan freaking Shaker, would you like to go first?
Sure. Is this where I'm supposed to say Terrell Pryor? Is this where you
Try
want
it.
us to go?
Try it.
No, I think, again, I tried not to double up on anybody because to Felix's point, there's just so many Buckeyes, right? So on my list, if I'm going one, Buckeye is the greatest of all time, and for all the reasons you both mentioned, this whole show is Orlando Pace.
I have Orlando Pace. There he is. Orlando Pace. All right. You want me to go, Felix, or you want to go?
Yeah, I want you to go because this is too hard.
Yeah. I really don't know my answer. I got to look at these lists because I've changed this again. I tried to go. It's hard not to go with my favorite Buckeyes on this. Gosh. You think I would have had this set by now? It's
Just
just so hard.
state the obvious and get it over with.
I'm not going to state the obvious. I'll go somebody completely off the grid. All right. I'm going to go with JT Barrett. I love his leadership. I love the way he beat Michigan. I love that he fought through everything. I trusted him, even though there's other players that had more talent, other quarterbacks that had more talent. I want the ball in his hands. If we have to win.
Like if Mario would have gave other quarterbacks a chance, we probably would have had Joe Burrow for 3 years starting instead of JT, and maybe would have won a national championship during those years.
Can't say that. You don't know.
He was blind. He was blinded by JT Barrett's leadership, and it hindered us in a lot of games. But
greatest Buckeye ever. All right, fine, Felix. I'll take him off the board.
No. You made your choice. I'm just arguing your choice.
Stand by your pick.
Stand by. If you have to be persuaded, if you're persuaded that easy, then it probably wasn't the right pick to begin with.
No, I just want to satisfy you. No, I mean, again, this was just a tough category. You can look at it so many different ways. But for me, in all the times I've played, again, if I needed a drive to win a game, I want JT over any quarterback there. Even over Troy.
Wow.
Okay.
I end the show with controversy.
You should just sign off right now then. So I was thinking about this, and I read a lot of message boards, and something came up, been talked about the last couple of weeks, about no longer current player, but somebody like DeMario McCall. 6 years in the program, never complained, did what he was asked to do, switched over to play defense, and came back and played offense again this year. Now, I'm not making him my greatest Buckeye of all time, to be honest with you. But you have to weigh things like that. Is it just the greatest Buckeye or the greatest Buckeye player?
CJ Sanders.
So those are the things you have to add. So those are things you have to think about. But when it comes down to who bleeds scarlet and gray through and through, who's been entrenched in this community since he was a kid, who went to school locally, was a high school phenom locally, went to the school down the street, was a two-time Heisman Trophy winner, the answer has to be Archie.
Yep. For all the reasons we've said all show long, again, Dan, we wanted to try to have some variety in some of our picks, but yeah, I mean, I should have picked Archie. I had Troy and Archie the whole time I've been doing this. Again, it's hard to get past Archie, just, for all the reasons we've all stated. But again, I'm pretty sure all three of us could have ran through those lines and got pretty close to those yards. He wasn't touched a lot. So, I mean, his NFL career kind of showed that. But, that doesn't matter. Yeah, no, Felix, did you meet him when we were in Chicago at the Northwestern games? I think you said you had.
No, I've met him a few times. So I went to school with his kids.
Mm-hmm.
I went for a couple years in elementary school with his kids. And then I have a couple of pictures signed by him. So when he went to Eastmore, my brother went to Eastmore. I went to a different school, but Eastmore was right around the corner from where we grew up. So we knew Archie. Archie, my dad went to Ridge, which was a rival of Eastmore at the time. So he was fully aware of him. It was, east side of Columbus, Archie was the man. Unless you talk basketball, and then that's a completely different story. Which, that's a different
sounds like another episode.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting episode. I didn't even think about doing Buckeye basketball this early, but maybe we will. Who knows? I mean, Archie, every time I met him, we were at the Northwestern tailgates with McGee's or Jack Sullivan's, whichever it was, or maybe both. And he was there and met him several times. And I sat and talked to him stood and talked to him for quite a while, the two times I met him. And just watching him interact with other people, just how graceful he was and a gentleman he was. And he's Mr. Buckeye. And for all the reasons, again, local kid, for all the reasons you just said, I'd have to give Felix the Buckeye leaf for that one. because that's, I guess when we're all said, again, if being honest, to me, it would have to be Archie or Orlando Pace as far as the greatest, if I didn't go with my feelings. So, all right. Well, we are going to wrap things up. Then I'm going to change things a little bit how we did things, the three-way vertical. So I'm going to go back to this screen and keep us all on saying goodbye. So final words, Dan, Felix, about the show, anything we did, the process, anything you want to part with.
I'll just say all my answers were right. Everybody else's were wrong. That's it.
I agree. As were mine.
My recommendation, and this one's hard for you, Jay, since you are a fan of Ohio State also, but on your next shows, just be the moderator.
Yeah.
And let them duke it out. Feed them the questions and let them duke it out.
Yeah. I had planned on it. Yeah. But it is hard. It is hard. Well, yeah, thanks guys for doing this for the first show. I'll go back and watch it again. It was live, but nobody watched us, which is fine. With the first one, I didn't run into as many technical things as I thought, because there's a lot going on in this show, and just graphically and musically and what we were doing. So for the pretty much we stuck to the script for the most part. It was longer, which I expected. Which me moderating it would keep us on pace a little bit more and having a clock. But I knew talking Buckeyes with you guys was not going to be a short show. So thank you for joining me. It was great having you on, Dan, and getting to know you a little bit better and get to know your fandom. Felix, I love you. You're my brother. I love it.
Love you too, brother.
OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O.
OH. Michigan.
I-O.
Sucks.
All
right, guys.
I didn't even hear that. I don't hear that word.
Yeah,
I just hear
true.
like a big
I did say it. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I'm gonna sign off. Go from there. I'm gonna throw you guys back in the green room, maybe for a second. I don't really know how to do that, or I'm just gonna go to this last screen and close and do this. All right. I'm going to end the broadcast here in 1 second. And